please come inside the masjid and move forward to the front. Inshallah, we're going to start in a minute or two. Please come closer. Sit near the scholar, the speaker, and also sisters downstairs as well. After almost every program, we have a little bit of a complaint from some sisters that they really try their best to listen, but some people are talking, making noise, children. That's all normal, but if we can try to limit that, then that will be beneficial for everyone. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, it is a great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He brought us to His house, to the masjid. And we prayed Salatul Isha in Jama'ah, of which Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam promised that he will get 25 and some narrations 27 times reward, more than praying individually at home. So we were given this opportunity. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He brought us here, right? We don't allow anyone into our house unless we want them to be in our house. We don't let anyone we dislike into our house. So this is the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the fact that we are here, it means Allah brought us here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us. So we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are in the company of scholars and ulama, namely our respected teacher and Imam Mufti Abdul Muqtadir Sahib. And also, we have many students of knowledge here, inshallah, soon to be ulama. We have Maulana Adil Faruqi, Dr. Adil Faruqi, and other senior members of our community. So we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. Sitting next to me is a very close friend of mine. His name is Sheikh Waliullah Muhammad. I know him from 2011 when we were both studying at IIE in Chicago. Sheikh Waliullah, he accepted Islam about 10 years ago. So he was not born a Muslim. So, he accepted Islam 10 years ago. He was born and raised in the west side of Chicago, downtown Chicago. And he brings a unique perspective, a perspective that we are not very used to from our background, as immigrants, as, born Muslims. And spending time with him and speaking to him and conversing with him is, teaching me that and opening up my mind. So we have a lot to learn from everyone. So inshallah, we also have a lot to learn from Sheikh Waliullah as well. He studied for 6 years in the same Institute of Islamic Education, Ma'had Ta'lim al-Islam, and he graduated in 2015. We made dua for his family, specifically his mother. She has not accepted Islam yet. And we make dua for her, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides her. He's very concerned about that, as was Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. These two companions, when they had accepted Islam, their parents had not accepted Islam. And they were trying very hard. And they were being very kind to them. And they were, doing their khidmah as well. And eventually, they accepted Islam through the dua of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we also make dua for his mother. And one thing that, it really amazed me, and it showed me the beauty of Islam and the beauty of following the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that despite not accepting Islam, his mother boasts to her friends about her son. His mother boasts to other friends about her son. Although she did not accept the faith, she knows that he is doing something right, and he is a model citizen. So alhamdulillah, we have Sheikh Waliullah amongst us. He's here all the way from Chicago, and we request him, inshallah, to address us, inshallah, for some time. We should listen very carefully with open hearts, open ears, with the intention to listen and also follow and act upon that, as was the conclusion of his khutbah today, and also to propagate that. And inshallah, if we have time thereafter, we will have some time for, inshallah, question and answers. And then there will be dinner. So make sure you don't leave. Okay? Mawla Waliullah. What did I do? What's happening now?
What's humming now? What happened?
No, that's that thing. What does that say? I think you gotta put your phone a little bit further. He doesn't have a phone.
I don't have a phone.
Your phone? Oh.
Yes.
It's not the phone. Can you check on that? What is it? It's not from the speaker. It's not from the speaker? Oh, it's not from the speaker.
It's not from the speaker? Okay, alhamdulillah. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه والتابعين أما بعد. There's a few different ahadith, incidents, and an ayah that inshallah we're going to cover in today's session. All of these things kind of help put this idea of dunya into perspective. Today's topic was about this idea of the reality of dunya. So I'll start with the parable. It's something very, very easy to understand. It's also very generic. Anyone engaged in the work of tasawwuf or this idea of tazkiyah, they've heard this before. But the ulama, they go and when they explain this concept of dunya to anyone, they start by equating it to something that's needed. The dunya is not something we can, completely cut out of our lives. It's something that's a part of it. It's necessary. So therefore they say, in order to imagine this idea of dunya, think of an ocean or a sea. Vast and all-encompassing. And the only thing that's really important about you is your heart. This is the vessel. This is that thing in which contains yourself, your actual being. And this is what needs to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being pure. So just like a ship navigates the oceans, navigates the seas, navigates lakes and rivers, your heart has to navigate the dunya. But the ship, like your heart, has to navigate its arena in such a way that you're in the boat. You can't let any of the water get inside of it. You need the water. You have to use it. Because without the water, you're not going to get this gigantic, hunk of whatever to the other side. It's impossible. But the moment you fill that vessel with what's around it, then you failed. And now this vessel that was meant to float on top of the water is now underneath it. Useless and decaying. So your heart is like this ship, this vessel. It's supposed to navigate the dunya without letting too much of it get inside. The second point, an issue. In a hadith, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentions two places and he contrasts them. The masajid and the aswaq. The masjids, the places of worship, the most beloved places to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the marketplaces are the most hated places to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But again, when we go and we look towards the life of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we never find him going and admonishing his companions saying, don't work. Don't go to the marketplace. But what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what he always used to encourage them to do, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used to encourage them to do, was that when they were involved inside of this marketplace, to make sure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this dhikr, this remembrance, stay within the heart. To make sure you understood what it was that you're working for. Because just like you have this heart as a vessel in the dunya, just like the boat has a vessel on the seas, there's a point to everything. You're not just wandering aimlessly. You need money, you need clothing, you need a home. in order to take care of yourself, in order to live. Because like we covered earlier today, this practice of Islam is something that's real. You have to be able to do it. But in order for you to practice Islam, there has to be something behind you as well. And for this reason, you have to go, you have to work, you have to feed yourself, because you can't do anything without taking care of your necessities. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a story in the form of Yusuf alayhi salam. Yusuf alayhi salam was raised with his father and his brothers inside the land of Canaan. They lived a very simple life. Out of jealousy, his brothers, they sold him and sent him to a faraway place. Everyone should be familiar with the story. That the famine struck, Yusuf alayhi salam's brothers, they have to go and seek refuge in Egypt, only to find that Yusuf alayhi salam is now running the show. Yusuf alayhi salam, he moves all of his brothers, their families, into Egypt. And there he takes care of them. And him being now the ruler, and them being his family, the entire family occupies a certain position. And after a generation or so, they become the de facto rulers of this land of Misr, this land of Egypt. But then something happened between Yusuf alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam. That whether it was the people's attachment to the dunya or their lack of doing the work that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala required them to do, the power that they had secured by the deeds of Yusuf alayhi salam, his connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, was lost. And not just lost, but the situation completely flipped on his head. The people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed them to rule over enslaved them. In different books that we study, like Qasas al-Nabiyyin, we have this issue of the native Egyptian people feeling that they were being taken advantage of. So they lashed out against, these descendants of Yusuf alayhi salam. And lastly, inside of the companions, there's an example in Uthman alayhi salam. Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. The Battle of Badr was quite possibly one of the greatest turning points in Islamic history. When the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ demonstrated that Islam was something powerful and impactful, and that the motivation of the Muslims could overturn anything, be it numbers or equipment. Uthman radiallahu anhu is always credited with being one of the participants of this battle. But he wasn't there. This is because of the fact that Uthman radiallahu anhu, throughout his entire career with Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you had different people like Umar and Abu Bakr, who were always there physically with him, taking care of his direct needs, being there to defend him with their words or with their hands. Uthman always did it with his wallet. Whenever the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ needed anything, whenever the Muslims needed anything, whether it was to build something, to fund something, an expedition, an army, a war, Uthman radiallahu anhu was always there, always ready to give. And in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, فَأَمَّا مَنْ طَغَى وَآثَرَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا فَإِنَّ الْجَحِيمَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى. When speaking about this last day, this day of judgment, when everything's done and everyone's going to be held to account for the things that they did, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He comments on two types of people. The first, a person who overstepped all bounds, a person who didn't understand where he should put his work, put his actions, put his words. Man tagha, a person who overstepped his bounds. And he prefer this worldly life over everything else, his destination will be Jahannam. As opposed to that person who fears the place of his Lord and his station, this person will get the Jannah. So now all of these different things together, these are different examples I just gave you. Hopefully in your mind you should already come to some type of understanding. First and foremost, that the dunya isn't necessarily bad. It's necessary. It's something that you need. It's something that has to be there. We have to embrace it, and there's no destroying it. Whether it's the dunya or your nafs, it's there. There's no breaking it, there's no destroying it, there's no getting rid of it. So it has to be there. The money has to be there. The property has to be there. The community has to be there, and the community has to be functional. But these things can never be the point. You're not earning money for the sake of earning money. To watch bank accounts, go up and fluctuate. To have fun sitting back on your sofa watching the numbers in the stock market. That's not the point. That money, signifies something. It signifies your actual power. Then we look at the example of Yusuf al-Islam and Uthman. That these are potential deeds. We go and we, talk to the kids sometimes about their ajr. And we, compare it to money. But okay, you get, 10 hasanah for that. It's like $10. These examples, we do that. There's one guy you all know who does this all the time. But the thing is that, this example is real. Your actual $10 can become, these 10 different types of rewards, or even more, depending on where you invest it. If you put that in the masjid, it multiplies. You invest that in these different children in front of us, in their education, it multiplies. That every single thing that you have can be used for the sake of Allah. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he made this point very, very clear to his companions, that every single thing that you're doing, as long as you're sincere, and as long as it doesn't contradict that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered you to do, because again, these are the basics. We covered before that, a Muslim has to be a Muslim. When you do anything now, this becomes your ajr. This becomes your closeness to Allah. This becomes your change in the world. Uthman, whose sacrifice was enough to put him in the ranks of the Ashab al-Badr. Yusuf alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the complete, control over Egypt, a place he wasn't born. He wasn't a member of these different people. He wasn't a Coptic Egyptian. He's a different race entirely. But because of his Islam, and because of his truthfulness, because of his honesty, they trusted him with their finances. And he didn't betray them, so they trusted him even more. They put his entire family together on the same pinnacle that they put him on. That, these are those people that are just like him, then give them everything. We can never, ever, ever forget, though, because inside this exact same story, there's a moral because of what happened afterwards. Another hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ad-Dunya Sijnul Mu'min, wa Jannatul Kafir. This worldly life is something, again, it's not the point. It's not the point. As long as we're here, we don't get to enjoy being with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As long as we're here, we don't get to enjoy the real true sweetness of the Iman that can only come after everything is past, and we're rewarded for what we've done. So we always keep in our minds that this is not the point. The only people that are here holding on to their money and don't want to leave this place are those people who have overstepped every single one all bounds. It's not a love for, glitz and glitter or having nice things that's going to throw a person to Jahannam is when a person goes and he makes those things his God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the most beloved place to him is the masjid, meaning that whenever you have the chance, you should be inside of here because you know that this is the one place on earth that's going to let you and allow you the real closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you should always want to be here and love to be here. Whereas your work is a necessity. It's a place where you know you go to because you have to, but you always want to leave because you know how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala feels about it. That's what the hadith means. The bigger goal, which is our Jannah. We can't ever forget that. Because when we forget that, when we come now, we're sitting on millions of dollars that we've taken and robbed from all these different people around us with our different shops and all of our different merchandise. We sold them different things. We never give it back to them. And they come to hate us, like the Egyptians started to hate the Jews. And when the hate reaches a certain point, then they're not going to wait for you to reinvest the money back in the community. No, they're just going to take it and kick you out. That's what happens. But as long as we remember the fact that the point isn't the money, we don't want to sit on storehouses of gold and silver. We want to use it in impactful ways. Then this thing will never happen. Because they're going to see the benefit while we enjoy the benefits. These different concepts, honestly, and this is again why it's very, very important to bring up the fact that all of the different worldly knowledge that you all have gained in different universities and colleges, and even just from living experience, all of those have to be reinvested back into the deen. Simple entrepreneurial concept: see a need, fill a need. If we were doing that as far as our communities were concerned, we wouldn't be having any problems. Every single person that's here, every single person that's not here, every single person that has shahada in this area should at some time throughout the day, first and foremost, our obligation to our Lord. Forget that this is the first thing, that there are secondary goals. We need to learn from each other. Everybody has skills that they can all be pulling together. If you're not using these different things that you've learned for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you've wasted them. If you die with $1 in your pocket, you wasted it. Use it. Make sure that every single thing that we have, make sure that every single thing that we do is in the path of Allah. If we can manage this, then alhamdulillah, then we've become 100% completely accepted. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there and He's with us. As long as there's a bit of Iman in the community, and even we learn from Yusuf alayhi salam's situation, you can come back from that. When everything goes completely, everything goes south. You did everything wrong. And the people took you to account for it. And now you're their slaves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still won't leave you alone. For the years in Egypt, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Musa alayhi salam to lead them out. Try again later. And alhamdulillah, mashallah, after wandering the desert, after conquering Canaan, generations later, you have Dawood and Sulaiman reconquering it. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. In this cycle, it continues. So if we find ourselves in a low point, then alhamdulillah, mashallah, things can only get better. If we find ourselves at a high point, then make sure you're putting in all the effort, the time, and the money to make sure things keep going. Because that's the way this dunya works. We use the water as a transportation. We also benefit from it. We can't let too much get in. But sometimes just a little bit is sweet enough, to make the journey enjoyable. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave us this ability to make, this call. Because this idea of, this da'wah is not that you're actually going out, standing outside on the soapbox, going and telling the people, become Muslim. Become Muslim, make sure you're going out your beers, come over here. Every single day, when you all go out and do those things that are necessary for your livelihoods, you're interacting with hundreds of thousands of people every single day. Show them some glimpse of what real Islam is by coming to the masjid, getting this recharge, and then going back out into your different works, your jobs, Islamic way, in an exemplary way. They will be attracted to it. They will come. This is the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He does things. Sure that the entire community is involved in, just cycling in this money that you are making. Make it so that it's impossible for people not to see the benefits of the Muslim community. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I said before in a khutbah, there's a hadith, something to the effect that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala left the Christians and the Jews as examples. Maybe of what not to do. But if you're doing something better than us, then we have to kind of look at it and analyze it. Recently, inside the news, these different attacks on the Jewish community centers. You look at the services they offer, the entire community is impacted because there are now Muslim kids that go to these different places for their gyms, their basketball courts, their preschools. The entire community is involved in that place. So if there's a threat that's coming to them, it's not just their problem, it's everybody's problem. when these things they happen, you can't help but see the impact that those people have on the community. We should be the same. We should be even more. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mercy on us and that He guides us, that He allows us, to make this, this call, that He allows us to practically apply this Islam, and that He allows us to use those things that He's given us in order to earn His mercy and pleasure. Because there's only two things that's going to happen. Either the things that we have are going to be proofs against us, or they're going to be, things that testify for us. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow the Quran to testify for us. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow, this thing to happen by us, learning it, applying it, funding it. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us all, to be underneath His shade on the Day of Judgment by falling under the category of those people that whose hearts are connected with the masjid. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive every single one of us for our shortcomings. And then we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability to implement every single thing that inshallah we've been requested to do. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
Jazakumullah khairah, Shaykh Waliullah. I wish I can, just continue hearing. This is medicine for the hearts. Your words, alhamdulillah. And it's very true, everything he said. And he didn't go into much detail, as many discussions we've had previously. Mawlana Abul Hasan Ali Nabi, rahimahullah, famous scholar of the recent past, he once gave a bayan in UK. This is probably 30, 40 years ago, when Muslims had first started coming to UK and Europe. And he told the people, he said that you must get involved in the effort of da'wah. This is not the time to sit at home. This is the time to make your Islam apparent. And as the Shaykh said, make others realize and recognize the beauty of Islam. Because a time will come when the locals will start thinking, and xenophobia, nationalism, things like these will kick in, and then you'll be in trouble. So the only thing that will save you is to be involved in this effort of da'wah. So alhamdulillah, this is a masjid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this beautiful masjid. And we have leaders in our community such as Mufti Saab and other scholars as well who are working day and night. We want you all to be involved in this masjid. As the Shaykh said, the masjid is the epicenter, is the center of the community. It is where our hearts should be. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said that one of the 7 people on the Day of Judgment who will be in an exclusive company, one of them is رَجُلٌ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلَّقٌ بِالْمَسَاجِدِ. The man whose heart is connected to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he said that, Shaykh mentioned that one of the most important aspects, or the most important aspect of the masjid is salah. And we come together and we pray. But that's not where it ends. It's more than that. This is a place where we come for our education, for our ta'aleem. This is a place where we come to, to find the solutions to our problems. If we have any question, we have the Imam, we ask him. So we should be involved and connected with the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us many talents, right? Although, many of us, we're not scholars of the deen, but we are doctors, we are engineers, we are IT professionals. We all have our own expertise. So the Shaykh said that you have to make it count. And that will only happen if we work together. So this masjid, alhamdulillah, recently we've been, planning, we've been, working together, we've been meeting, and we want to make Nida-Ul-Islam a place where we all can get together and make a change for our future. We want this. And for this, we need your help. And that is why we are hosting programs such as these, bringing in scholars to share their perspective, to share their knowledge with us. And we have, inshallah, many activities for the youth planned. We already had a few events, and then we have, events planned in the future. We're also, inshallah, planning some outreach dawah events within our community. So we want you to be involved. You cannot just leave it up to the shura or a few brothers, the imam. No, we need your help. We need your expertise, your thinking, your ideas. We need your wallet, right? We need your help. We need your, planning. We need your motivation. So we need you here. And you guys are the brothers that will help. You guys are the sisters, and you guys are the children that will help. We cannot rely on anyone else. So inshallah, first step is that you should, come to the masjid for salah. As much as you can. Salatul Isha, alhamdulillah, we have many brothers who come after Salatul Isha. We have ta'aleem, where we read from the book of hadith. Thereafter, we have a mashwara. We have a meeting. We talk about it, what happened today. What can we do tomorrow to improve ourselves, to improve the community? Did you know that every Thursday night, Mufti Saab has a seerah program in this masjid every Thursday night? Friday night, Mufti Saab has a tafsir in which he, explains the Quran, and it has been going on for a very long time, right? And then we have the Hifz program for the children. So these are all activities that we should all be involved in, and this is not where we should end. We need more. Right? So we request you for your involvement, and also in order to be notified and be up to date, I request all of you make sure that you are on the email listserv. Who does not receive emails from Nida-Ul-Islam? Please raise your hand. If you don't, then you should go to nidaulislam.org, and there's a button there to join the email listserv. So you are in touch with the activities going on in the masjid. So if anyone has any questions for the Sheikh, as the Sheikh, alhamdulillah, he brings a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. So you may ask your questions now. And we also sent index cards downstairs for the sisters. They can write their questions down and send them upstairs, inshallah. So yes, brother.
So most Muslims are born Muslims, but how does it feel when you become Muslim? How did it first feel like it'll turn out?
So the young brother, what's your name? The young brother Muhammad had a question that most people are born Muslims. I'm reading for the sisters. How does it feel to be a new Muslim? How did it feel in the beginning? Yes, how did it turn out?
The most loaded question. After every question, every question is easy after this one. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Okay. How did it feel? Subhanallah. Well, just the general answer. Feels good. But in more detail, well, let's see here.
How did it feel before, when you just joined Islam? How did you feel? How it'll turn out at the end?
How it'll turn out at the end? Well, I hope that it will be good. That was my hope, going into it. But, honestly, and maybe this can be also some things that you'll kind of look into for, future da'wah projects. That sometimes, the different, the pillars of Islam look a little scary, especially the fasting. But the fasting wasn't scary. The 5 times a day salah is honestly the scariest one. I think there was quite a time, honestly, I was kind of looking at, whether or not to, go jump into this. I think the first thing that, said, okay, let me hold back was, this 5 times daily salah. I was like, can I do that? 5 times every single day, in the morning, in the afternoon, midday, evening. But alhamdulillah, mashallah, after the first difficulty, once you get inside the routine, because alhamdulillah, because of the way the system it works, is very practical. If you're living life according to the way humans should live, when you wake up, you make fajr. Inside, when it becomes afternoon, you make the dhuhr. And so on and so forth. But, let's see here. Yeah, honestly, your question is really hard. But yeah, coming into Islam was good. And one of the main reasons why I did so was because of the fact that in it I saw the solutions to a lot of the different problems that I was facing and the community was facing. This idea of, redistribution of wealth being a part of, the actual faith was very, very appealing.
But what made you feel that Islam was the right choice?
Because everything else looked really bad. Honestly. It was the only thing that kind of, held up the different tests. Like the integrity of the faith. Different other faiths, for example, Buddhism goes and you have to go, just accept this idea of suffering. But there's no fighting against the suffering. Alhamdulillah, Islam has jihad. Christianity has this, concept where, you're looking at, this Trinity, and that's the main, focal point of it. That didn't make sense. Judaism is very tribal. When you become like a Jew, joining in, is not the same. There's a lot of basis in their faith about, the ethnicity being a part of it. So it's very kind of difficult to even join that community. And that's the same with a lot of different faiths. A lot of faiths that you'll find around the world too are very kind of ethnocentric. Whether it's Judaism or Hinduism or Shinto, these different, Confucianism, they're very much related to, the people's ethnicity. So there's no idea of, this is guidance for humanity. It's guidance for their tribe. If you want to be a part of it, we can allow you. But that's not the point. Islam from the get-go was, this was guidance for humanity. This is something that, that should be followed. If you do such and such, we're not going to promise you that everything's going to be easy. When you join Islam, you're going to be tested. But hopefully you're going to grow from the tests. No, this was appealing. It seemed right. And alhamdulillah, I'm confident I make the right choice.
Are you finishing with your interview?
Jazakumullah khairan, jazak, mashallah.
Any other questions or interviews?
Please, no more interviews.
No, but mashallah, Sheikh, he brings he brings a perspective from both sides. He was telling me, and a person like him is ideal to educate us about the field of dawah practically in this country, because he's been there. So he was telling me about when he first was interested in Islam. So he went to the. Can I mention this? Go ahead. So he was first interested in Islam. So he went to the masjid. Like someone would come here. So imagine someone walks in and says, I have a question about Islam. So how would you deal with them? How would you react? So it's very important. You have to think about these things because one of the purposes of our existence is dawah, right? This Islam and this beautiful faith through which we achieve salvation in the hereafter and also happiness in this world, that we cannot keep it to ourselves. It makes sense when you think about it, common sense. And also this is our responsibility. So we have to understand this. And we have to work towards this. We cannot just have it in the back of our mind. So he was saying that he went to the masjid and he told the Imam, I'm interested in Islam. I want to take the Shahada. So the Imam, he said, first go take a shower. Go and take a shower. So he said he was turned off by that. He didn't come back for some time. So things like these, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, رَبَّنَا لَا تَجْعَلْنَا فِتْنَةً لِلْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. So one of these scholars was explaining, the translation of this ayah is, Oh Allah, do not make us a test for the qawm al-zalimin,
I like this.
for the non-Muslims, for the oppressors. So someone may ask, how can we be a fitna, a test for those who are the oppressors? Shouldn't they be testing us and oppressing us? So one scholar explained this beautifully. He said that when a Muslim does not act in the proper way, he does not follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then someone who is potentially attracted towards Islam is turned away from Islam because of his action. That is how we are a fitna for the qawm al-zalimin. So for that, in order to do da'wah, in order to go out and propagate Islam amongst our non-Muslim friends, community members, we have to be prepared from inside. We have to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to pray tahajjud at night, and he would prepare himself. That's why it was wajib upon him to pray tahajjud. This was a means for him to prepare himself inside so that he can do da'wah outside. Yes, so we have some questions from the sister side. You don't have to answer all of them.
Alhamdulillah, one was already answered. Waliullah attracted you towards it. I think, mashallah, the young sheikh's interview took care of that.
So I'll read the question. Which one do you want to answer?
This one first.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How can I remember, always to remember Allah, like a green
branch, I think.
Like a green branch on a deserted tree, and keep my tongue and heart rutban min dhikrillah, basically moist with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can I always remember Allah?
So, this one, honestly, this is almost like, this is a topic in itself. This is a class all by itself. So I'm going to go and, alhamdulillah, mashallah, have some experience with, this type of question. So I'm going to go and summarize that class. There's two states a person's in. Okay, a person is either in a state of dhikr or in a state of ghafla. Okay, and the entire idea of being Muslim is to make sure that you're in dhikr as much as you can. The 5 times that you saw those scary things I talked about, the main point behind them and the distribution throughout the day, when a person's living a normal life, is that when a person's awake, he's engaged in dhikr in those key points of the day. Every single in the talk in Jummah, we talked about Muslims being Muslim, about this Islam becoming a reality, about the importance of following the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's example. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a walking Quran, meaning that he was pretty much always in a state of dhikr, and he taught us different ways in order to maintain this state of dhikr. When you're meeting someone, there are du'as that you mention. When you enter into a place, whether it's a car, whether it's your home, whether it's the bathroom, there's different du'as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught that you should mention. When you go and you eat something, or drink water, or eat a specific type of food, do a specific thing, when you get hurt or get angry, there are du'as for that. And these things encompass pretty much every single thing a person does. The issue is in the fact that there has to come a certain point where you start to understand the meaning of the du'as. Because these du'as, the entire point was for the Arabic-speaking people that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was dealing with. He told them to say these words in these different places that got their minds working. And when they go on, for example, the travel, when they go to their animal or their car or whatever, and they go and they, praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who made me able to do this, inside the heart it comes, subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did this for me. When you go inside the house, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect, the people. When you go and you meet a person, you say, Assalamu alaikum. When you understand, the different meanings that the ulama even came up with, from this, whether, this is a contract between two people that they're going to abide by the different rules that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, okay, this person's blood, his honor, these things are all protected from me, or whether or not you're imploring that this person is always under the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by As-salam, meaning that this name of Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be with, may Allah as-salam be with you. May this tranquility and peace from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be with you. By understanding them, memorizing the du'as, using the du'as, understanding the meaning of du'as is the key to keeping your tongue and heart or wet with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the best I can summarize it. Anything else is going to go on for it. And now the next one, let me go and actually look at,
I'm from this community, so I know what kind of question.
Okay, no problem.
Any other questions? Can we get an update on the dinner? It's ready?
Oh, subhanAllah, that's too short. Oh boy.
4 minutes? If we have no other question, inshallah, we will conclude. And this is not a plug, but this was kind of planned. That, alhamdulillah, we are having events like these. We've had one last week. We were planning more events. So we want to make this community and this masjid more active and more friendly and more, inviting for the community, for the youth, for the sisters, for the adults, for everyone. So inshallah, we plan to have more events like these. And I'm sure, inshallah, you're benefiting. I myself am benefiting. And inshallah, we're also filling our stomachs as well. So we need your help, financial help, right? So I urge all of you to be like Uthman radiallahu an, help the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through any means possible, and especially through your wallet. The donation boxes are there. Inshallah, put whatever you can, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you. With that, I would like to invite Mufti Saab to make a dua, and then inshallah, you guys can discuss it. He always makes this part.
Okay, fine.
You gotta make it.
Inshallah. Oh yeah, that's right. This thing is here. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, allow us to be enveloped by your sincerity. Allow us to embody Islam. Allow us to understand these different statements that you've given us, these different powerful words that you've given us, in order to understand how we should praise you, in order to understand how we should seek refuge from you, in order to apply the different things that you've given us in this Quran and in the form of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to apply the example of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in every single thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to apply the example of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in every single thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to become like the companions of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in our sincerity towards him and to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgive us and forgive those that have come before us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, allow us to go towards the future. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by being accepted by you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا إنك رؤوف رحيم. اللهم اشهد برضوانك على السابقين الأولين من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين تبعهم بإحسان. اللهم اغفر لنا جميعا اللهم اغفر لنا جميعا اللهم اغفر لنا جميعا وبرحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
If we can get a few hands, we'll put the tarp down, inshallah. So brothers can start setting up for dinner. Once again, we're planning the youth i'tikaf on March 18th. So look for details on that, inshallah, very soon.